Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash, Barakatam. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of the great millstone who rule and teach well. And peace and salutations to Ya'akim out there pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Raya with another video. And I'm going to start it off with Joel chapter 2, verse 30 through 31. And I will shew wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood, before the great and terrible day of Yahweh will come. That great and terrible day is approaching, and we just had that super blood moon, and look what's followed in its wake. The Hebrew Israelites in the mainstream media being shown as a hate group, and also with that black label added unto them. The persecution of the men of the Lord is coming, Akim, followed by that famine of the word. So just keep preparing in the spirit, because times are about to get pretty hairy out there. But with the Most High behind us, who can stand in front of us? But also in the wake of this blood moon, as we'll read in this article on ZeroHedge.com, is Israel announces sustained strikes on Damascus. Syria fires back in major escalation. That battle in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, that battle of Armageddon is quickly coming. These are beautiful times to be living in, Akim, to see everything we've been reading about start to come to pass right before our eyes. It's the first time that Israel has ever announced strikes against Iran inside Syria and in real time, and all following that blood moon, showing the signs of the times. Moments after a massive wave of rockets were fired on Damascus, activating Syrian air defenses Sunday night, when that blood moon was taking place, the Israeli Defense Forces, or IDF, announced, "We have started striking Iranian Quds targets in Syrian territory. We warn the Syrian armed forces against attempting to harm Israeli forces or territory." This is Isaiah 55:11. "So shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it." The prophecies of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai will come to pass no matter what. His words will not return unto him void. And a major part of prophecy is that battle in the Valley of Jehoshaphat in that Middle Eastern region. So things are going to continue to escalate and escalate until that war pops off. And as we'll see in this article, Israel's warning Syria not to retaliate. So think about it like this. Israel's going to do whatever it can to get a retaliation from Iran or Syria, or just have a false flag take place so they can drag the United States in there to have their back to kick off that war, because a war with Iran is a major policy for Israel, because Israel wants to be the main hegemony in that region, and they use the United States as a puppet for their means. This is a quick video.
And I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq, and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran."
Iran's the crown jewel of Israeli and U.S. policy in that region. But you got to remember, first and foremost, it's through the will of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai to bring that battle of the Valley of Jehoshaphat to pass. This is Jeremiah 49:20. "Therefore, hear the counsel of Yahweh that he hath taken against Edom, or you so-called white people, and his purposes that he hath purposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock, which are those Gutterat Amalekite Edomites posing as Israelis in the land of Israel, shall draw them out by trying to get a retaliation from Iran or Syria, or creating a false flag event to drag the U.S. further into a war. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them, and whatever means it happens by, the least of the flock will draw them out, and the United States will be in there, and there will be a war with Iran, which is going to drag in Russia and China, as well as these other nations into that Valley of Jehoshaphat for that battle of Armageddon." I think I read this part, but I'll just reread it. Israeli Defense Forces, or the IDF, announced, "We have started striking Iranian Quds targets in Syrian territory. We warn the Syrian armed forces against attempting to harm Israeli forces or territory. This is unprecedented, given that in every other among the dozens of prior recent Israeli attacks on Syria, the IDF has never acknowledged responsibility so quickly, and certainly not while they are ongoing, usually declining to confirm or deny after the event. Pretty much says the same thing. 12 hours prior, the IDF said its Iron Dome aerial defense system intercepted a Syrian rocket fired into the northern Golan Heights after Israel launched a prior rare daylight raid on Syria on the international airport southwest of Damascus, according to Syrian military officials. In what marks a major escalation, it appears Damascus responded to that attack with what Israeli media has called intentionally fired offensive surface-to-surface attack. And how can it be offensive if it's a defensive move from the Israelis striking them first? Just going to show the double-tongued nature of these Edomites. The Israeli intercept of that inbound Syrian surface-to-surface missile was caught on dramatic video per the Times of Israel. The interception of the incoming Syrian projectile was seen over Mount Hermon, Israel's tallest peak, which was full of visiting skiers following a stormy period that dusted the mountain with snow. This is a very beautiful video, Akim. So, Akim, let me pause it. And I bet a lot of people didn't think it snowed over in Israel. Let me turn the volume up. That's the last thing the majority of you Americans are going to see when those 200 million nuclear missiles are going to hit the United States and turn it into that biblical lake of fire. Israel's Sunday night attack has involved dozens of strikes reportedly from F-16 jets flying over Lebanon, targeting locations in and around southern Damascus. Syria's Pantsir and Buk air defense missile systems have reportedly shot down an unknown number of inbound Israeli rockets, according to early unconfirmed video. Sayyad is engaging enemy projectiles in southern Syria. We have also unconfirmed reports of Syrian Air Force first response squadrons' participation. Israel also reportedly launched multiple cruise missiles during the sustained assault. Local Syrians have described the prolonged sustained explosions both overhead and on the ground, but it remains unclear how many Israeli rockets actually made it past Syrian defenses. And remember, the Russians have been supplying Syria with more advanced anti-missile defense systems, which has got these Israelis nervous. That was a successful hit on Israel's Dalia cruise missile by 57 E-6 missile launched from a Syrian Arab Air Defense Force SAA-22 Pantsir over Damascus. The IDF has warned Syria not to respond, which appears to be unheeded, as Israeli media is reporting that anti-air defenses have been activated by inbound Syrian rockets over northern Israel and the Golan Heights. Beautiful, Akim. We are in those times, these last seconds of these last days. The kingdom is right around the corner, Akim, so you shouldn't be getting weak in the spirit. There should be putting more fire in your spirit to push this word as hard as you can and stand as bold as a lion against these heathens, because we're about to see how ain't shit these heathens truly are. This is Joel chapter 3. I'm going to start at verse 1. Salakia. For behold, in those days and in that time, these days we're in right now, the last seconds of the last days of the rulership of Esau Edom, the so-called white man, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, the southern kingdom, which are you so-called Negroes, and the northern kingdom, which are you so-called Latinos and Native Americans, our slavery is damn near at an end. Verse 2, I will also gather all nations, the United States, Russia, China, Great Britain, France, Israel, Iran, Saudi Arabia, what have you, and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, which means Yahweh's Shaphat or Yahweh's judgment, the Middle Eastern region, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. And this is judgment for you heathens for what you did to the children of Israel in the past. You followed behind Esau Edom, the so-called white man, in oppressing the children of Israel. This is Psalms chapter 83. I'm going to start at verse 1. A song or psalm of Asaph. Keep not thou silence, O power. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O power. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation. Let us part their lands and get rid of their remembrance, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance, for they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate or allied against thee. The tabernacles of Edom, Esau Edom, the so-called white man, who's at the head of all these heathens, that's why his name's first, and the Ishmaelites, or you so-called Arabs, which helped build those slave ships to take the southern kingdoms from the west coast of Africa to the Americas and wherever else, of Moab, you so-called Chinese, and the Hagarenes, another clan of Ishmaelites, Gebal and Ammon, you so-called Japanese, and Amalek, you gutter rats, posing as the Israelis in the land of Israel. A lot of y'all were the key financiers of the transatlantic slave trade, and the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre, you Hamites are so-called Africans who surrounded the Israelites on the west coast and sold us into the hands of the Edomites, as it pretty much says in here. And they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine, that they may drink. Slavery. Yeah, and what have ye done with me, O Tyre and Zidon? Those Hamites are so-called Africans, and all the coasts of Palestine. Will ye render me a recompense? And if ye recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your head. Because ye have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temples my goodly pleasant things. The children also of Judah, or the southern kingdoms, the so-called Negroes, and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians, again those Edomites, the so-called white people, that ye might remove them far from their border by surrounding us in the west, on the west coast of Africa, and selling us into the hand of these Grecians or Edomites. All of you heathens are going to take a part in this judgment with the battle of the valley of Jehoshaphat on this side, and also in the kingdom where you're going to be in hardcore bondage and slavery for 1,000 years. But all you other heathen nations, while you're going to get it pretty bad, you're at least going to be able to go back to your lands and live under our foot. But as for you Edomites, y'all are going to be eradicated from the face of the earth after that 1,000 years. Now I'm going to jump to verse 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, which the men of the Lord are doing out there on the highways and byways, as well as through these video epistles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let the men of war draw near. Let them come up. All these nations being gathered into the valley of Jehoshaphat.